Hello, everyone. Can I get everybody's attention, please? My name is Natalie Cullen. I am the content director at Vegas PBS. We'd like to get started, so if everybody can come in and you're seated, please. And we will get started here with the Nevada Democracy Project's second listening session. Thank you so much.
Gun violence, tuition costs, war, voter apathy, these are just a few of the many concerns top of mind for youth in Nevada.
We're focused on these crucial concerns too.
Gun violence, tuition costs, war, voter apathy, these are just a few of the many concerns top of mind for youth in Nevada.
We're focused on these crucial concerns too. That's why we're hosting a Nevada Democracy Project community listening session focused on youth issues and election questions.
The Nevada Democracy Project is a partnership between two respected news organizations, Vegas PBS and the Nevada Independent. It's a new initiative focused on civic engagement and community conversations.
Together, we're going out in Nevada's neighborhoods to learn what you want local leaders to focus on by hosting listening sessions, because we believe every Nevadan affected by an issue should have a say, including young people.
I think the most urgent and important thing that we should all be talking about is democracy. Our democracy is in a very fragile state right now.
I really, truly don't see the urgency that is needed in order to shift a lot of the issues that are currently going on in education.
I could afford a $2,000-$3,000 emergency if it happened to me.
Our team of experienced journalists will follow up with in-depth reporting on topics you care about across multiple platforms, ensuring coverage reaches more people where they're at.
Having transparent and open conversations is an important part of democracy, especially during this presidential election year. The Nevada Democracy Project aims to be a reliable and trusted space for voters now in the 2024 election and beyond.
Well, good evening. I'm Mayor Mazur. I'm the president of Vegas PBS, and I'm so delighted to be here and welcome you with my friend and colleague, John Ralston. You know, one of the best things about working in public media is the opportunity to introduce communities to each other. In a world where it's sometimes easier to find out what's going on halfway across the globe than halfway across town, one of the values of public media is telling the stories that matter and shining a bright light on points of pain and points of pride. So it is the Democracy Project with the Nevada Indy that is striving to do that and working to indeed create an opportunity for ongoing journalism and storytelling. So it's my great pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, John Ralston.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thanks everybody for coming out. No applause. No. Later, if you want. Listen, this is it is such an honor for me, and it truly is, to have partnered with Vegas PBS and to have Mayor so quickly buy into this concept that we are trying to put forth here. And you know what? It's a very odd concept for the media. We want to listen. Like, we're always talking to you, right? We're telling you what to think. We're telling you what's news. Tonight, and the Nevada Democracy Project is about you. It's about you telling us what we're doing great and what we're doing wrong. You can say whatever you want. This is no holds barred. You might bleep stuff later. It's possible, but we want you to really say what's on your mind. You saw some clips from our first event in West Las Vegas, and people told their stories, and we followed up. And we did stories both on PBS and on the Indy site about concerns that we were told about that we didn't even know still existed as issues. That's what tonight is about. And tonight, and I think this project, Mayor, and I hope you agree with me on this, it's about hope. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have hope that our democracy can become vibrant again, and that you're part of this, and that you can help tell us what is of concern in your community and what we should be doing that we're not. So
I have hope.
we are not going to stand up here and pontificate. I used to do that, but that's another lifetime. I want to introduce our two wonderful hosts, two great reporters and journalists, Renee Dixon from Vegas PBS and Naoka Foreman from a little place I like to call the Nevada Independent. So give them a round of applause.
Thank you, John and Mayor, and thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate you coming out tonight, and we want to reiterate we are here to listen and to learn from you. We want to know what you think news organizations like ours are not covering enough of, or the issues that you think your elected officials aren't taking enough action on. What's keeping you up at night? What are you debating among your friends, in your classrooms, for the students who are present? Let us know. This is an open forum. All voices are welcome, and you are encouraged to weigh in.
And before we begin, we do have a few housekeeping rules to get started with. If you want to speak, please raise your hand. Amber and I will come over to you. If you're in the middle of a row, come out into the aisle, and we'll hold on to the mic.
Yes, we want to make sure that we hear from as many people as possible, so get your full thought out, but also keep in mind that other people may want to talk. And as Naoka mentioned, we're going to be holding the microphone, so don't try to take it away from us. We're going to have a firm grip on it.
And we know there's some topics tonight that people might be especially passionate about, and we're going to jump right into those. But please be respectful of each other's opinions and avoid profanity, defamatory language.
Yeah, and you notice the cameras. This event is being recorded, and parts of it may be used for future news coverage. And you can also see it in full on both of our organizations' websites, vegaspbs.org and the nevadaindependent.com.
So let's get started with the conversation tonight. I want to start off with thoughts on the upcoming election. So Nevada just had a primary and caucus. We want to know what issues are bringing you to the ballot box tonight and what will impact your vote.
Who's willing to go first? Naoka?
Yeah, do we have any youth in the back? That I've seen somebody moving around. No? Do we have any students who go to CSN? Any CSN students in the house? No? Okay. But I did see someone over here. You go to UNLV? Okay, well let's get it started. You can stand. You can start with your name. Face this way.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Malcolm Greer, and one of the issues that impacts me the most is preventing workplace violence and also preventing gun violence, because as you know, these students have been impacted by the October shooting. So, there's a lot of the students are debating whether or not we should be like a quote unquote like closed campus or keep it open. So yeah.
Okay, so safety. And say your name again.
Yeah, it's safety, and my name is Malcolm Greer, yeah.
And what are you studying at UNLV?
It is political science with a minor in Brookings public policy.
Okay, you said keeping people safe on campus. You talked about shootings on campus, things like that, so that's what's on your mind. And you hope leaders address it?
Yeah, they have addressed the situation and all that, but Congress and our state legislatures need to help reform those gun laws.
Okay, you said reform gun laws. Okay, all right. Does anyone want to piggyback on that, or did anyone want to add to the discussion? Any youth?
Well, we could, Malcolm, do you have any thoughts on whether the campus should be a closed campus?
I do know that there are like federal laws and also state laws that that kind of hinder us from us doing like certain things because we're like a federally funded and state funded public campus, so it does like kind of hinder our security capabilities like a little bit, so yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Do I see any other hands up?
All right, let's go.
Hi, my name is Imer Cespedes, and I would like to emphasize, and I 100% agree with Malcolm. So over here in this room, I can recognize many faces that we were in the second floor of Student Union on December 6th. And I think college students, now this is the time that we deserve to have safety in our campuses. So right now, UNLV president, he's doing a great job implementing more security on campus, but I think this is not enough. I think we need a gun control reform or something better in this upcoming legislature.
All right. You have any follow-up questions, Amber?
Anything specifically with gun control that you would like enacted?
Well, the last legislation session, Governor Lombardo, he vetoed 3 bills that I think would make a positive impact. Like, for example, the raise age from 18 to 21.
Thank you.
Imer? Yeah. Cespedes.
All right, thank you for sharing. All right, anyone else? What about this side? What about that side of the room?
Well, we did have a volunteer here, so let's go ahead. Perhaps what you say will incite some more discussion. What is your name?
Andrea Gigline. And the overarching for me relative to the Democracy Project and thinking about the November election is what type of policies and what type of characteristics and leadership do I want? So the whole concept of a Democracy Project is what parts of that do I want to bring alive? So for me, the overarching for the November election is who will we be electing and how is the electorate behaving relative to that? I mean, I have huge concerns. That's why I'm most interested in the youngest population, because I think it's the most fragmented at the moment. So I'm most concerned about how the 18 to 25-year-old is going to behave. And that troubles me. It keeps me up every so often. So for me, it is, if we are focusing on a two-party system, which at the moment, I was the girl who had ballots for Ross Perot. I have always been a middle-of-the-roader. At this moment in time, I have to pick a lane. And how people are picking that lane and why, like I heard them say it was about, very personal gun control. For me, it's an overarching gun control. The term common sense, like not take the guns away, but what is it that we can do and why is it? They just raising the age, they were victims of violence of a person, my peer. So it wasn't about age in that case, but it's about how do we embrace the fact that we can have something and how we use it in a community. And I think that that's why, for me, the younger vote and who's coming up makes that so important.
And when you said how the younger people are going to behave, what do you mean by behave?
Are they going to fracture their votes or not vote at all? Like, I cannot personally imagine a young person who right now will be saying that Gaza is their most important topic would actually then go into a voting booth and say that a Republican candidate would be their likely choice just to get mad at the Democratic. But they're young. They could get that mad.
Okay, well, let's hear from some of the youth. I see you nodding your head. Would you mind adding to the discussion? Help us out here. What do you think about the idea of voting solely on one topic? And what's your name? And can I have you stand up? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Drake York. I guess I would start by saying that people should really educate themselves a lot on both candidates if they plan on voting. A lot of the time, people tend to kind of jump the gun when it comes to their feelings on politics and stuff like that. A lot of people my age anyways, like I have so many friends who I talk to and they're like, well, you know, I don't like Biden because of the whole Gaza thing, or I don't like Trump because he's a jerk. And it's like, it's way more complicated than that. You know, if people would, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think that there should be a push on educating voters, because educated voters are stronger voters.
So you understand with her perspective and concern.
Yeah, no, I totally 100% agree. I mean, like for example, I guess like a lot of people I know are very much against Biden because of what's going on in Gaza right now, but they don't realize that, you know, if we voted for Trump, we would get something like Project 2025, which wants to basically do a big, swift takeover of the executive branch and, you know, have conservatives in charge of that, which is scary. I don't think that anybody should have a lot of power, you know?
Are you a student here?
I'm planning on being a student here, yeah.
What would you like to study?
Journalism.
Hooray! Any questions for us? What do you think of the state of journalism?
Well, I don't know. I'm wiping the sweat off my brow here. It depends, honestly. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it yet. I'm optimistic. But right now, I don't know. I wish that, I don't know. That's a question that makes me nervous.
Okay. Well, think about it. If you want to add anything, we can certainly come back to you. Okay. And then next time I'll ask also where you tend to get your news. We'd like to know that as well. Where you're reading or viewing your news, how often, the sources. Naoka, do you want to come over? Oh, you have someone?
Folks over here. Sure. Hi, my name is Caitlin Gachanyan. In my professional hat, I work for an energy-efficient nonprofit, and then obviously my personal capacity, I'm a mom. I'm born and raised in Las Vegas, have lived in Nevada most of my life. The only other time was when I lived in Reno, and then in the Philippines when I was younger. So this is my community. I've invested a lot of time with the work that I've done. I've run campaigns, worked for a bunch of local nonprofits, and I would consider myself as a relatively informed voter. I'll also age myself. Please don't use it against me at work. But I'm 25, right? I'm in that age bracket of like between 18 and 30, 35-year-olds, and I really feel like I have a unique perspective on things because the added bonus is I'm also a mom, right? Like, so I look at both perspectives of like me as a youth and then someone raising a youth, right? Completely agree with him on education, but not just educating like voters, educating everybody, right? The state of our public education is ridiculous, right? Like, you want me to put my 2-year-old in CCSD right now. That is my option. Or charter school or private school, which then, again, changes my options, right? So for me, I bring my daughter to these events. I want her to be educated. I want her to be a part of community. But the problem is that we don't invest enough, one, in our kids, and we don't invest in our general community too, right? Like if we invested more into education, we wouldn't have to do as much voter education, right? Because they would be informed, right? But we are not starting from the beginning. I'm very adamant about my daughter's education. For the first 2 years of her life, she was with me. But now that she is in daycare and in preschool, I interviewed everybody. I wanted to know what kind of content you were teaching my child. I wanted to know that she would be educated while moving into the next steps of her life, right? And me and my friend, who also has a daughter, we just had a conversation about education and having terrible choices. Like, that's wild that we don't have better choices for our kids.
Real quick question. Okay, so you talk about choices, and we know we have a governor right now who is proposing or pushing the opportunity scholarships to create more options. What's your thinking on that strategy to help parents like you?
The problem is we're not investing in public education, right? I am a huge proponent of public education because I believe that we all should be educated, and it should be the government's responsibility in educating us. But because it is their responsibility, they also know that there's a power to that, right? So I don't know what that dynamic looks like. I don't even know what the solution is. But I really do believe in education and being able to be informed so you know how to make the decisions best for you.
All right, looks like you have your hands full. Thank you for sharing with us. All right.
I have a gentleman over here. What is your name?
My name is Chris Solomon. I wanted to address your question, ma'am. So I am a state director of an educational issue advocacy organization. We train college students to become political organizers. Our first training at UNLV was the day of the active shooter training. In fact, if you were at that training, please raise your hand. Yeah. So to your point, ma'am, about the single issue thing, what I am discovering, and I'm gonna take my jobs hat off and put on like my very staunch support for President Biden on. When it comes to the youth, a lot of them are much more nonpartisan, yet very progressive, and so trying to scale that down for the youngest folks around us that are getting involved in issue advocacy stuff, giving them the leadership spaces to actually take action. The Malcolm and Emer right there are talking about gun violence prevention specifically. They need to, I think that with the disarray that the current Biden campaign is in, is being able to sell Joe Biden to just practically anyone. And you can see even people from the old Obama camp trying to help President Biden pivot to go and be attractive to those young voters, right? The more that you engage young people at a local level and building the autonomy they need to actually take on issues, it gives them a much more comprehensive understanding of widening that single issue thing that you were talking about. And so, that's what we do. We train students to become political organizers, focus on those issues, and spreading the word and actually prioritizing. As my boyfriend, this is my boyfriend, by the way, just wanted to brag. But, like taking on those issues and providing the education needed for college students is vastly needed. I am also 25, so I'm still kind of learning, putting my foot in this as well. And so, I look older than 25, obviously, because of the career choices I've decided to take on. Now, that being said, give us the space and watch us make our magic, and we'll definitely start to look at democracy in a much more, optimistic way.
I'm curious, when students do come to you to begin learning how to go out and deliver their messages, what tends to be the number one concern they have?
Whether or not they are going to be able to afford a home, like most of the people in this room probably already have, or whether or not they're going to be able to adjust to the cost of living demands. But, at the same time, that small step of giving them the autonomy they need over specific issues that they're passionate about or have been affected by, is probably the best start right now, in my view.
Thank you so much. Oh, okay. You want to add on about the state of journalism or how you secure your news?
So I'm going to start by saying that I'm optimistic about the state of journalism. However, and there's a big fat however there, it's really subjective, right? Because a lot of people look at journalism and they think that journalism should be very, unbiased. And from certain publications, I do agree with that statement. On the other hand, though, I mean, the human brain and the human experience as a whole is a very, subjective thing. What information you choose to present to your, listeners or the people who are reading what you're writing, that's always going to be innately biased. What picture you choose to show them, what exactly you write about your experiences, that's always going to be biased. So it's a really complicated question to answer. Personally, once again, I'm optimistic about it. I know that right now there's a lot of people who would say that journalism and just news and stuff sucks, but I mean, I don't think it's that bad. We have access to information. If you really want to learn information and educate yourself on what's going on with things, you should read from a variety of sources, you should do your own research, and you should come up with your own conclusions. We're not trying to make you come up with conclusions, we're trying to help you come up with those conclusions.
And where do you tend to get your news from?
Everywhere. I kind of read everywhere. I wake up in the morning and I check 8 News Now and Nevada Indy and a bunch of others, so it's
Wonderful. Thank you. We're so glad that you are a consumer of news. Like a good journalist.
All right.
You're doing good. Naoka?
Yeah, we had some folks back here nodding their heads to what he was saying. Did you want to share some thoughts on that and introduce yourself?
Putting me on the spot, that's crazy. Okay, thank you. Hi, my name's Nathaniel. I was just nodding my head because I was just agreeing with a lot with what you were saying, because I went up to school up at UNR and I studied journalism, so just kind of understanding how it's very subjective. I was agreeing with a lot of what you're saying, and we do have our whole computer in the palm of our hands. I feel like everyone here has a cell phone, so being able to do our own research. But then when it comes to it, I feel like people become very lazy when it comes to it. They read a headline and just believe it, reshare it from a website that's like americarocks.com and take it for real. So just being proactive and doing our own research, I think, is just super important, especially for everyone.
And what brought you out tonight?
Oh, here for work. But also I want to be involved in the community, and also just, it's an election year. It's my second presidential election year voting for, so I'm 26, so the fact that we're already here again is just very intense, and it's scary, but it's also should be something that we should all be talking about and not ignoring, because I feel like our community as a whole can get very annoyed with when it comes to the political advertisements. So, and then we just try to ignore it, but it's not something I think that we should be ignoring. It's something that we should be talking about all together as a community.
Okay. And are there any candidates that's running right now that are inspiring you and bringing you to vote?
Not yet, just because I think it's still very early and I'm still doing a lot of my own research, so it's just that I still am trying to decide where my head's at with everything.
Okay, and what issues are important to you right now besides journalism and those things? What issues are you hoping leaders address?
I don't know. I think the environment is a huge one. I think trying to start a family is very scary to me as I'm getting older, because I don't know how the world is going to be that they're walking into. So I think of just kind of realizing that of what we want our children growing up in as far as just the environment goes. So I think that's a huge one for me.
Okay, and what do you think leaders should do, or what should Nevada do? What should we do here to address these concerns that you have?
That, I don't know.
Fair enough. Thank you for sharing. Did you have any follow-up questions?
Well, what kind of work are you in that brings you to the Nevada Democracy Project?
Oh, public relations.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, I'll come over to you. Let's start with your name.
Hi, I'm Peggy Young, and I'm not 25, surprise. But I do have a lot of community issues or questions. And I've lived in this community for many years. I was almost raised here. So I've been here when it was little. Decatur, I used to live on Decatur, and across from Decatur was desert. And my brothers used to go out and get horny toads and lizards and bring them back and then release them. So this has changed, and a lot of it is for good. I was a teacher for 30 years, and from the beginning of my career to the end, things had very much changed. The principals used to own their classroom and have their, I would follow a principal because of their philosophies or their dedication to students. And I think education has really changed, and it's not for the best. Teachers used to own their classrooms and be the leader. If they wanted to teach reading that day and they did not understand it, they had the ability to teach it another day and reteach it for as long as they needed because they were in charge of their classrooms. That doesn't happen anymore. And so that concerns me a lot as an ex-teacher. I live in the community over by Desert Inn in Jones. I've lived there for 37 years, and I will not go out at night anymore in this community. It's a sad thing. I used to walk my dogs or take my children even around the block, not in the dead of night, of course, but I don't do that anymore. I used to bake a cake. If I went out of eggs or cream, I would go to Walmart or anywhere else and pick it up. I don't do that anymore. I'm not feeling safe in my own community, and that's a very sad thing. I don't go out at night without my husband, and we're very careful where we go. Kids can't do that. I mean, when I was little, I used to go out and play, and I'd come back at lunch, and this was in Minnesota years ago. So also, you're talking about journalism. I disagree with the 25-year-olds. Please don't tackle me. But I think journalism is to let us know what's going on, the truth of the matter, to get into the nitty-gritty. Yes, give us some history, give us some background. But I do not like any kind of politics, and I don't care what side you're on, to get into your article about something that's actually happened. I need to know what's happened so I can make up my own mind. I don't need anybody to tell me that. So anyway, I love Nevada. I love my country, and I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote for, but I've given it a lot of thought. Thank you.
When did you stop teaching? When did you stop teaching?
Oh, do you really have to ask that? In 2000.
Okay, and
But I supervised student teachers for about 10 years afterwards. So I also worked over here registering some of your students after I retired as a part-time job, just in registration time. So I got to know a lot of younger people.
And what do you think changed? You said you used to be able to go out at night and you can do all...
I think discipline, raising your children it's not all parents' fault. There are lovely, lovely parents. Just look at these Boy Scouts parents over here. Oh, Stan? So, there's so many wonderful parents, and they're trying to do it, but we're swimming upstream, I think. We used to be in charge of our children. Now it seems like the schools or government or anybody else is in charge of my child, and I do not like that. I just think a lot of discipline has changed. I know in the school system, there were things that I did early on in my career, and I'm not going to tell you what, but it worked, and the students behaved, and they were respectful to me, to the other principals, to the other students. I don't think that happens a lot. So that's what's changed.
Thanks for sharing.
I have a young member of the audience wanting to say something. Can I have you stand up first? What's your name? You want to grab that real quick? What's your name?
Yes.
Your mom. Gotta clear that throat. You're fine.
I think you could be younger to vote.
How old do you think you should be in order to vote?
At least 13.
And how old are you?
8.
So 5 more years. And what kind of a person would you vote for?
A person that makes everything free.
Because everything is so expensive, right? What's your name?
Nasir Herrera.
Thank you so much.
All right, we got someone back here as well.
All right. Hello, my name is Eric Padilla. I'm 11 years old, and I would just like to say, because as she was asking, what types of problems do you think that you guys should cover a bit more? I was thinking maybe a bit more like local problems, stuff that's going on in Las Vegas, because I think just like the big ticket items are just a bit too big for me, because I'm just a bit more worried about what's going on in the local areas, like let's say floods or damages to the areas. Because of the flood that's happened in September, there's still like construction going on in my areas. I would also like to say that I completely agree with the journalism people, because in my English class, we write a lot of like essays. We have to spend hours like just researching stuff online, looking up stuff. Right now, a project that we're working on is, should people be allowed to own exotic animals? So we had to look up like a ton of evidence, reasons to why we should or shouldn't let people own exotic animals. I would also like just to say that it takes a lot of work to be a journalist, and we appreciate everybody that does the news, that writes books, that people that do the magazines. We appreciate every single one of you.
Thank you so much. So kind. So I have to ask, should people own exotic animals after doing your research?
I don't think they should, for 3 reasons. 1, let's say like you're harboring an endangered species. They could possibly go out, they could either go extinct or they could become domestic. They could lose all of their wild instinct. Another reason is public safety. As we've learned from the Terry Thompson incident that happened in October, I think, 2011. Terry Thompson, he owned a lot of exotic animals in cages. Therefore, so he's released the animals into the world, into the city, before killing himself. So all of the other animals, the cops shot them, and those animals could have been endangered.
Okay, and do you plan on running for office one day?
I think I would. Actually, if I got the chance, I probably would.
Okay, and tell me about your troop that you're here with.
So this is Troop 149. And we're actually just a new troop. We just started a couple of months ago, and we're already thriving. We have about 30 members, thereabout. And we do a lot of stuff. We're going camping this weekend at Calico Ghost Town. We do summer camps. We just do a lot of really fun things. I don't have any of my merit badges sewn on yet, but I'm going to have those soon.
All right, clap it up for this young man. Great job. Future candidate. All right.
See a lady over here. What's your name?
Valestin Antona, and I'm a community organizer here. I'm a little intimidated following this incredible scout trooper here. Like, you got my vote. You got my vote whenever you run. So I just want to address, I know we're talking about the November elections. Remind me your name in the beautiful blue. Andrea. You know, I feel like she's not unique in that she's a middle-of-the-road, independent, common sense, constituent. And we have a solution to ensure that, the 40% of Nevadans who didn't get a chance to participate in the primaries earlier this month on the ballot in November. Top 5 open primaries with ranked choice voting is on the ballot. And that would ensure that For those of you who are independent, get to participate in the primary election for Democrats and Republicans. You'll get all one ballot ticket. And then secondly, in the general, you get to rank your favorite candidates, right? So this ensures that you're not wasting your vote. Say you really, really love this, remind me your name? Eric. I really love him. He's an independent candidate, however, and but I don't want to waste my vote on an independent candidate. But through ranked choice voting, I get to rank him number one and then give my safety vote to someone who's a decent human being who I know will address the public. So we do have solutions like that in November's ballot.
You want to come on over here? Okay. Because it's really interesting, ranked choice voting. So United America, I got involved with UnitedAmerica.org when it came up because I was intrigued with that because I know that I have always, and Nevada used to allow me the freedom of balanced candidates that I could vote both parties and feel very comfortable that what they were doing was uniting at a national level to make the state stronger. That luxury has been removed. So then ranked choice comes up. And I know that my friends who identify with one party or the other are basically opposed to it. Me in the middle thought, let me go see. So I went and saw, and I agree, and I thought, this is pretty good. And my 92-year-old uncle used it in New York, and he reported to me that, in the end, one of the three that he voted for when he ranked choice ended up getting in. So although it wasn't his first choice, he felt okay about it. And now we go back to where I am relative to the state of democracy. And I'm scared. Because at least from the outside and the actions, it appears one party that I used to associate with very strongly no longer sees the Constitution the way I see it. And if I give the option, God help me, if all my young friends voted against me through ranked choice, I believe the fragility of this system will crash at this moment. So I, over dinner the other night, backed away and I said, I know that it's going to come up on the ballot. I know how I voted the first time. I've got to see how I'm going to do this a second time. I think that that's what this project is about. We are at a different point. What I knew the party systems to be, I had the freedom to be independent. I was a proud nonpartisan. And it wasn't until I realized that one couldn't vote in primaries, which ticks me off beyond belief. Ticks me off beyond belief. And I had to make sure that the party I trust more, their behavior, if not their policies, more represent what I want in the character of the people I elect.
So you voted for ranked choice voting the first time around, and you are unsure if you will do it, and I don't quite understand why.
Because I believe the fragility of the system right now, the ranked choice will fracture the vote at such a high level that I am concerned what will happen. And I'll be direct. I'm concerned that if at the national level Republicans get in, and there is young friends in this audience, Alex Bybee, who taught me why I had to pay attention to local elections. That if I didn't start electing at the lowest levels, because that's who becomes career, that makes them the career, so I had to make a choice. So not having that at this moment in time, not being forced to make a decision, concerns me.
Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, so when we talk about the fragility of the system, we're typically thinking top of the ticket presidential election. Yep, it wouldn't be for the presidential election, by the way. So, yeah, so it would actually be all state and local. And we're already doing this. In 2020, we actually use a ranked choice voting system for the presidential primary. We also use it in nonpartisan elections right now. And I think something that's confusing to voters who don't align with either party is that they don't participate in the June primaries because they think that it's only for Dems or Republican state seats. However, there are municipal seats there as well that they can definitely participate in. So I'm a mom too. I'm the mom who my dear friend Caitlin was talking to about schools. My daughter's 3 years old, and she's the reason why I'm organizing in our community. I cannot be complicit in the future that she's going to inherit. I don't want her to be 25 years old and having to be fighting the same injustices. And I feel that voting reform, that's been tested already, and especially one that's going to, give more representation to people like these younger kids who actually want to run, an opportunity, if they're not backed by career politicians in that sense. So.
Will you explain to everyone here the importance of voting in municipal elections, for example?
Yeah. Super important. All your city elections, office seats, those are municipal. You are open to vote in those as a nonpartisan. They make a lot of decisions for the places that you live. I realize that if you guys love the performing arts, the Smith Center, it was a city council that approved that. So big projects like that are super important and integral to the culture of our community.
So clarify for me, if this state goes ranked choice, but it is a national election, it only applies to the state and local, it does not apply to the national because that's not the national criteria? I wasn't clear on that. Okay. So
I love our community, not the president.
I saw you raising your hand. Thank you. What's your name? Sorry, do you want to go first, Naoka? Okay. What's your name?
Oh, hi. My name's Cesar Marquez, and I was just going to add an example to the discussion where this system, Final 5 voting here in Nevada, Alaska actually approved it. They have Final 4 voting. The only difference is we have 5, they have 4. But so it's been tested, and I would say I think we had some great results. Some other races, Congresswoman Mary Peltola was able to beat the Trump-endorsed, candidate Sarah Palin. But also Lisa Murkowski, who's a Republican senator, she was one of the very few Republican senators who voted to impeach Trump. And she was the only one who made it out of her primaries because of this system. People like Adam Kissinger, Liz Cheney, they didn't make it out of it because they have a closed primary system, right? And so closed primaries benefit more extreme candidates or bases. And I think Alaska, proved that this is a good model to follow. They were able to approve their budget within 1 day because it encourages and incentivizes representatives to work with each other because they're not just representing their more extreme base of the party, they're representing, everybody, and they need that 50% plus one of support in order to win. So I just wanted to add that example that it has been, tested, and not just in Alaska. A lot of municipalities like, in Utah, New York City uses it, and so, I think we have some good results.
Before I let you go, outside of ranked choice voting, what issue is top of mind for you right now?
That's the one. I'm a huge advocate for open primaries and ranked choice voting because I think so my background, I'm an engineer. I studied industrial engineering, and so I look at the system first, and I think if we pass election reform, that's going to allow better candidates to get into office, and then those candidates are going to be incentivized to work on the things that we care about, like education, housing, all of these things. But to me, things like open primaries and ranked choice voting are, step one so that we can create the environment that is going to allow our representatives to collaborate with each other.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
you. Naoka. Great. All right. Did anyone else want to share some thoughts? All right. We have someone in the front. Do we have any young people? All right.
Okay.
Let's start over here.
I'll go with you next. All right.
I'm not young. I first went to Clark County Community College in 1984 and 85 and dropped out because of nuclear issues. My family are downwinders. Since then, I've been engaged in nuclear issues, Yucca Mountain. I learned about climate change at Crater Flat near Yucca Mountain in 1995 because of the upwelling of the water every 15,000 years or so on average for 400,000 years. These nuclear issues affect all of us. The radiation is everywhere. It's at the bottom of Lake Mead. It's in the older houses here in Las Vegas, and workers are going into these homes and getting exposed. They don't even know that they're exposed. People go out and they recreate on the dry lake beds. They park on the edge where those heavy particles bounce across and collect, and they're getting exposed potentially. I'm trying to create awareness of these things. My family are downwinders. My family are dying. This environment is the most precious thing that we have. It's a fragile environment. We have the oldest life in the world here in the Great Basin. All this Yatumbi, we call it creosote, it's from an 11,700-year-old king clone over here in the Mojave. Billions of plants, all from one. We have the single oldest tree, the bristlecone pine, 6,800 years old on our mountaintops. The Pando, 25 square miles, over 80,000 years old. We know what we're trying to protect. I'm trying to protect the pure water that all of us need and all of our children need. We have endocrine disruptors, all this contamination going into our water. We have the only ownership contention of Yucca Mountain. In case you don't know, the proceedings are suspended, but they're ongoing. As soon as Congress decides to fund this, they're going to keep going. But we have the only ownership contention. And even with the Bureau of Land Management's master title plats, the Department of Energy can't prove ownership because Western Shoshone title remains unextinguished. 30 million acres and 5,000 people a month are moving here. We're not trying to get rid of anybody, but we need equal protection under the law. And so we just seek simple language that any federally funded projects prove ownership to the land. Otherwise, they're engaged in colonialism, exploitation, and it's an abuse. I am living in Las Vegas because in 1986, the BLM took our livestock, took our horses, using what is called a confirmation bias. The other BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, they took our horses because we had the most horses and blamed our livestock for destruction of the land that was caused in secret by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission and then the Department of Energy. And those things are still happening. There's a new weapons test 1,000 feet below the ground in the water table that is a subcritical test. It's just going to distribute the plutonium in our precious groundwater. That's an environmental crime. Environmental justice is what I'm about. My name's Ian Zabarty. I'm the Secretary of State for the Western Shoshone National Council, and I've been doing this work for 50 years, and like I said, I'm 45 years.
And question, sorry about that. So you said unless they can prove ownership. What do you mean by that?
Our title remains unextinguished. All Americans have rights by Indian treaties, okay? They're your treaties, they're my treaties. They're just not on me. Other Americans need to restrain acts that violate the peace, that violate the law. And these people that are doing these environmental crimes are trespassers. They can't prove ownership. As I said at Yucca Mountain, even with the Bureau of Land Management's master title plats, which are the land status record of the United States government, the Department of Energy could not prove ownership. I filed my contentions in 2008, and I didn't see anybody else who's claiming that they stopped Yucca Mountain, or I also filed in the Department of Transportation, Surface Transportation Board, to stop the Yucca Mountain Railroad. And they give credit to some artist who built something out there. No, it's Shoshone property. It has been, and other people are coming here, and Nevada, for example, got billions from the Yucca Mountain project. Nevada took those ad valorem taxes, grants equal to taxes, payments equal to taxes, gave it to every level unit of local government except Indians. That's racism. That's discrimination. That's it's a racket, in my opinion. It's fraud. It's our property. We're still here. We're not trying to get rid of anybody, but 5,000 people a month are moving here, and They found 16 to indict me downtown here in 1990. I was acquitted because I was doing the right thing for the right reason, and the BLM can't prove ownership. But it hurt me. I'm living in Las Vegas because they stole my economy, stole my horses, and I'm fighting and trying to do the right thing for all of us. We're all downwinders. You should see the film.
Real quick, can you explain downwinder?
A downwinder is those living in 3 states, Nevada, Utah, and Arizona, 22 counties in those 3 states. But we're all downwinders because the radioactive fallout went around the world. And a good example of that is the Mighty Oak accident and cover-up, where the radiation went around the world, and the people behind it at the Nevada National Security Site, formerly the Nevada Test Site, didn't tell us about that and wanted us to believe it was Chernobyl that went up 3 weeks after that accident. Millions of dollars in damage was done. Workers were killed. That radiation went around the world. And as my colleagues here in Clark County Department of Comprehensive Planning, High-Level Nuclear Waste Division, who are reserve officers, were flying around calibrating their instruments, they came across this radiation, and they couldn't understand because the Chernobyl radiation wasn't supposed to arrive yet. The radioisotopes traced all the way back to the Mighty Oak event. That's what's happening. We don't know how many times that happened. People need to become aware. My people, I need a safe place to live. I need my treaty reservation because no portion of Indian country will be included in the boundaries or jurisdiction of any state or territory. That's the 10 western states under the federal acts that created Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Colorado. That's the law out west here. And we're happy to have friends. Our custom is sharing. We're just not good at dying, and my family is the largest and oldest in Nevada, and that's not going to change because 5,000 people are not bringing 5,000 of their family. They're just trying to come and live and get a job. So am I. I'm an electrician by trade. I graduated from UNLV with a degree in communication. Yay, journalist! And I use it every day in a lot of different ways. So that's kind of my story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
You've been waiting patiently. What is your name?
My name is Bob Olson. First of all, I've sat and listened to quite a few people tonight, and it's real interesting because when I came here, I didn't know what to expect, but I will tell you this. We have a problem. We need to educate the young people in our government what goes on. We also need to make sure that we know the candidates we're putting up and what they stand for. The issue that I do see here is that when you ask somebody, 10 people, and this happened the other night, I asked 10 people at the caucus, who's your state assemblyman and who's your state senator? Out of those 10 people, 9 of them could not tell you. This is the first time I've seen where we have to take our election all the way down to the school board, the commissioners, that far down. That's how critical this is. Now, I've heard the gentleman here with the Indian Affairs Bureau. I know what's going on there. I've seen that. I've dealt with that. But for you as an individual, your rights are being slowly taken away in your voice. Do I believe that the Republican Party is the right one? Do I believe the Democrats are the right one? No, there is a middle of the road. You have to know the candidates that we are putting up for office and what they stand for. Find out. Step out there, talk to them. Right now, if you walked into North Las Vegas, where I live, you would not know who's running for office up there because the news media doesn't care. They're worried about the national level. We need to start worrying about our local level. The state legislatures we put in, the state assembly people we put in. Are they there to present your ideas, your business, your ideas basically of what this state needs to do? We have a water issue it's not going away. We are coming out of a 24-year drought. 1 year does not solve that. I've got a solution for it. Nobody's going to pay attention to it because it's at a state level what we need to do. But we need to have desalination plants put in California to pump the water out of Sierra Cortez up there to California. That relieves the issues we have with the drought here. It backs up. We get more water off the Colorado River. That's an idea, but it's got to be done at the state level. We've got to have people in office that are concerned about our education system. Now, I'm old school. I grew up, you had to do reading, writing, and arithmetic. You had to learn cursive writing. People ask, why do you need to learn that? If you know our historical documents are all written cursive, if you can't read it, you don't know what's in there. I also believe this, that as to help our education system, we need to get back to that. But also for all ninth grade students, put in a mandatory civics class so that they learn the government and what's there. Now, those are ideas that I've just sat as an old man, and I'm not 25. I'm sorry. I've seen that a long time ago. But we all make fun of it. But the young people today, you are the future. We start with our children. This little girl sitting here, that's our future. What do we want to give her? Environment that we need to work on. That's an issue. Yeah, we do. But we've got to get people that will honestly stand here and listen. The news media, people want to blame all this. We've been paying attention to Trump. We've been paying attention to Biden. The interesting thing is when you go to the caucus and you start talking to those people, what are they concerned about? Yeah, we're here to vote for them, but what they're more concerned about is what's going to affect my life. So here's the thing. Do you want a better life in Nevada for yourself, for your kids? We've got judges, and I watch them, I hear them, talk to them, and I've got a couple of them I definitely have talked to and that I'm going to support because of their ideas. And one of them's sitting right here. That young lady right there, that's her.
Thank you, sir.
And here's the other thing. People ask you, why'd you get involved in what I'm involved with? I said, because I got mad at what the school board was doing. I didn't like it. I want to see the change. I want to see the change for our people here in the state of Nevada. And the decisions that we send to the legislature to Carson City for the last 10 years has not been working. We need to change that. You need to get somebody that's going to hear what the people want to say and what they feel. The young man sitting back here, the Boy Scout, I'll tell you what, don't quit. Keep going. Because you got some ideas there. We've got people sitting in this room right now that are running for office. We need to find out about them and what they stand for. Do I believe in having a primary where everybody votes? You better believe it. Because I got to live with a lady that doesn't vote in the primaries. She's an independent. She didn't get to vote. It's upsetting. We need to open it up where we can sit down and say, here's who I want representing me, not who the party chooses. And it goes back to, are we putting up the best candidates that represent us? And that's what I look at.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I'm sorry, what did you say? Okay, let's go. You want to say something first, and then I think there's a scout who wants to, another? Okay, all right, let's go over here. Who is it, Kristen? Are you sure? Can I have you stand up? Just tell us what issue concerns you. Oh, so it's not you. You can go. Come on. What's your name?
My name is Cassandra.
How old are you?
I'm 13.
And what concerns you?
Something I really agreed on was that we should introduce civic classes into our school curriculum. As someone who's going to go into high school quite soon, I think it's really important that we're educated on topics that will help us in the real world, like politics and dealing with our own lives and money.
How prepared do you feel to go into the real world at this point?
I'm really young, but I really don't think, looking at my parents' lives, seeing that no one's prepared for what it is, and I feel like I'm going to be even less prepared because of education and its lack of.
And then I'm curious, your parents, what kind of issues are they facing?
Definitely economic issues, a lot of money struggles because it's really tough in the world right now. Another thing is that it's hard to navigate sociology because everything's going up and down all the time.
What do you mean by that?
It's kind of going up and down all the time, like I said, economically, but like nothing's really there to help others a lot that's really accessible in like feelings. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I have someone over here who was...
Oh, Naoka?
Yeah, she was agreeing with the young lady who just sat down. If you want to just share, what was your thoughts about what she was saying? And you can start with your name.
My name's Lucretia McManus, and let's give a round of applause for the young people that are in the room and the adults that brought them to this room. What I agreed with more is like, these kids are not learning the basic fundamentals that we need them to learn in order to make good decisions down the road. For me, things that are really important to me in our community is after-school programs and youth workforce development, in preparing our kids to be ready to get a job and keep a job, right? And so for me, it's great to see all these young people in the room who are listening, hopefully active listening to what's going on over here, so that you guys can really get ready to steer the ship, as all of us are hope to see a retirement one day. But for me, it's really important that we know that kids are not safe between the hours of 3 and 7 o'clock. And so programs like, I'm sorry if this is Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the Scouts, the Scouts, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, people that after any after-school program that we have in our school, that they get the necessary funding that they need to be able to continue programs like this. For me, I'm thinking about the safety in schools right now. I just had my niece that goes to a local high school. She was jumped in a bathroom a couple weeks ago from kids that don't even go to her school. So in order for me, as an aunt and as an educator in the community, you know, the safety piece of my niece or nephew is going to school to get an education, but can't even focus on getting that education because kids from another school are coming on site. Where are the adults in the situation? Why are the open campuses allowing other kids from other schools to come onto their campus? And really it's happening from my perspective in our Black and brown communities. And so I'm really just here to listen. I'm from American Samoa, so unfortunately I am a U.S. native, so I don't get voting rights. And so to sit here and listen in these community listening sessions, it's really important for me to educate people that get a voting right to be able to, so that my kids and my nieces and nephews that are going to come down the pathway, that they know that there are people that are going to advocate for us. Because my father served 27 years in the military, my mom 20 years in the military. And so not being able to vote, it's really important for me to come to a listening session like this so that you hear from me that we need you to vote so that we can have the same, so that we have the same, so that we can have the same opportunities that folks here, that were born here, have. Thank you, friend. Thank you for the opportunity. And young people, keep the light bright. Keep your lights bright. And I thank all of the adults that work with these young people day in and day out. Like my good friend Robert Lacey, I don't know where he went, but he does things with Notes for Notes, which is performing arts here in Las Vegas. And so all of you who do that work, I know it is a very, it's a thankless job a lot of the time, but I just want you to know that your work doesn't go unnoticed.
And you got really emotional about not being able to vote. How important is it to be a voter, to be engaged in this process?
Oh, it's so important. I wish there were more of us that didn't have that opportunity to be able to sit in community sessions like this, to be able to educate folks on, you know, that there are many of us who have served and people that have protected your rights and the rights of others around here that don't get that opportunity. And so I apologize for getting emotional, but I thank all of you guys who will go forward and fight a good fight for those of us who are here on the mainland.
All right, thank you so much for sharing.
Naoka, there's a woman over here who wants to talk, and while you head over there, I'm going to ask what it was you wanted to add.
Okay, so I would just love to say, I really appreciate how much you care about the school board, and I also would like to ask one question. Why are you sorry about getting emotional? It's completely fine. I get it. Sometimes I get emotional too because I want to vote, because voting is really important. If you vote, you're choosing who runs your country. So you could either make a good vote or a bad vote, depending on what you think. I would also like to say I completely agree with you. What's your name again? The gentleman there? Ian. I also completely agree with you about your talks about the environmental impact on the community. Us as Scouts, our troop, we do a lot of trash pickups. Not too long ago, we just started picking up trash alongside the road. We went on sidewalks. We picked up trash. We do all this stuff to help with the community. We do all this stuff. And I just would like to say I really appreciate everything that you do for the community as well, for the environment. I would like to thank everybody for coming here, and
Thank you. Naoka?
All right, go ahead and stand.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name's Alexandria Hughes. I wanted to speak because this woman kind of inspired me in the back. What was her name? What was your name? Bree? Cree. Okay, nice to meet you. She had said a buzzword, and it was youth workforce development, and that's what I'm in. I've been doing this for about 4 years. It feels like 30, though. It's a process. And I just wanted to really highlight the importance of employers tapping into K through 12 education and giving opportunities and exposing young people to the possibilities in our workforce. I work with kids 16 to 24, and a lot of them have no idea what they want to do. And I don't blame them. I still don't know what I want to do, and I'm old. But getting employers to work with K through 12 is so important, and there's programs out there that can help foster that can pay for these young people to be inside of workplaces and learn and grow. That's what they need. Just a show of hands from some of the young ones, how many of you guys would be interested if an employer came to you and said, hey, we've got this opportunity for you, and we know that you like this subject, do you want to come work with us for a little bit? Show of hands, how many of you guys would want to maybe take some opportunities like that? Definitely. So that's an important issue to me, is just getting our employers to be connected with K through 12. Fostering that pipeline is so important so that our kids don't get out of high school and then just, whatever it is that they do once they get out of high school, which in Vegas, that could be a lot of things. So.
Okay, and tell us about what's some issues that are going to inspire your vote this presidential election.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that one. That's a good question. I guess some topics that would really inspire my vote would be how we handle the people that are still incarcerated for cannabis offenses. Did you guys hear that? Cannabis offenses, people are still locked up for that. So that's a big problem to me. We have people gallivanting around smoking in the streets and people are still locked up. So that's important to me. Education is very important to me. Making college affordable. Housing is very important to me. The rising cost of rent kind of bothers me. So those would be some topics that I'm interested in.
Okay. And do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I think that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, what is your name, sir?
Hello, my name is Hunter Kane. I think I just want to kind of talk about a local issue that hopefully is not unfamiliar to most of us, but it also has to just do with our Clark County Department of Family Services. So I'm a foster parent. I brought in 36 youth, became a permanent parent to 11 of them. And it's a huge issue. Thank you. So it's kind of, in my opinion, just seen as like the forgotten youth. It's kind of like there's never any benefits really dedicated to them. The state tries. They miss the mark every time. And then I think this is the first, maybe second election where the judges matters. The judges' races really matter to me. I'll be honest, quite often it's hard to find information on the judges. So who's good, who's bad. They're all nonpartisan. So it's kind of like a little bit more difficult to figure out. So you kind of lean on organizations like Emerge, like Forward or Rise, and you're like, okay, who do you think it is? You do the work, and then I'll just pick from there. But I care a lot about it, a lot of it because, you know, a lot of the judges today, unfortunately, are trying to hit the numbers that DFS is doing. So it's kind of like it's less about what's best for the youth, what's best for the family, and it's more about, well, we have 18 months, get them out. 32 months, get them out. All these different things, here's a mark, get them out. And then the youth are just coming right back into the foster care system, unfortunately. And then I think a secondary issue for me is there's no separate programs for them. So when I bring in a preteen teenage boy into my home, the next issue I run into is I can't enroll them into that charter school or something because there's a lottery that I didn't know I had this kid before. So when people talk to me about that, I'm like, public schools are my only option for my sons. And then when it comes to a lot of after-school programs, when it comes to a lot of community programs, again, if you're signing up for soccer, it starts in April, but you don't get the kid until, you know, May, then how am I supposed to be able to do this? So I think just thinking about the youth in our community a heck of a whole lot more from the public ones and having those dedicated programs.
When you say that the state misses the mark, could you name one or two ways in which they could improve?
Absolutely. So I think it's really great. I want to say 2019, 17, that time frame. They said, hey, if you are a foster youth, we're going to pay for your college. But they're not going to teach you how to set up a bank account. They're not going to give you any money for the housing. They're not going to turn around and help you with transportation. And it's kind of like you're just on your own. We checked the box. We said that we're good because now we're paying for your tuition. You're on your own past that. And then there's a lot of programs right here, right now, where I think it's called Chafee, or there's a specific program out there where the youth can sign up where they'll get $1,000 a month until they're 21. Again, sounds great, but now if you're telling a youth who's not accustomed to handling his own money, we're going to give you $1,000. That $1,000 is, my sons left, they were here, but they will tell you that money goes to drugs, that money goes to fast food, that money goes to, no one teaches them how to do the basics of living, and they're just saying, as long as we give you the money, that we have the warm and fuzzies, and we don't care anything past that.
Thank you so much.
Wow, she's tough with this microphone, Naoka. I just wanted to say real quickly that we care about judges running for office, and we have. I don't think judges should run for office. No offense, but since they do, we got to deal in the universe that we deal in, and so the Nevada Independent, since we started, has had something called the Judicial Project, in which we really go in depth on judges, and we put together a very diverse panel of attorneys and some of them former judges to talk about these candidates so people can get informed if they want. And we're going to be doing it again this cycle, and you're right, those races are very, very important. You don't know anything about a judge, right, unless you've appeared before him. And so I think it's one of the best things that we've done at the Nevada Independent. You can go check it out, what we did in 22. We're going to do it again in 24. And thank you, ma'am, for letting me speak.
All right, we have someone right here. All right, let's start with your name.
Okay, my name's Yadid. I'm with the Mass Liberation Project Nevada, and I just wanted to circle back about the youth, and something that surfaced with me is that I think when you were speaking back there, the young lady back there, you were speaking about like other kids coming to other schools and then basically disrupting the school, right? I think that's centered in at home, and there's some issues there that we need to be able to address. And usually, majority of the time, it has to do with us, black families. And so with that being said, it's all targeted. And so I think a lot of the focus needs to be on the policies in regards to like truancies that turn into the arrest warrants for these youth, to be able to get them into the youth prisons, and then got them in that system where the systems are such as Youth Summit View has been shut down several different times for different violations. And so I think that we need to center on the education. And usually when a kid becomes disruptive, I know for myself, it's because I'm not picking up on what's going on in the classroom, and so then that falls back with the teachers. And not saying that they're inadequate, but then they're built with they're up against tough terrain because of the fact that one, they're underpaid, understaffed, and so it's a bunch of students in there, and then just a collective thing. So I think we really need to be able to focus on the school district. We've been ranked in the bottom percentile for I don't know how many decades now amongst the nation. So I think we need to start with there, and I think that needs to be the most focus, and targeting our actual youth, because I don't see too many youth that look like me, and usually most of the issues is coming from people that look like me, and that's all intentional. So I think that we need to be more intentional about bringing more of us in space. And then also just bringing attention to that, to break that pipeline. But yeah, thank you.
And what are some things that people can do to engage youth, to keep them out of this prison, the school-to-prison pipeline, or the truancy issues, or fighting, things like that? What are some things that people should focus on, that leadership?
It's going to take a while, but it's a radical step. But I don't really think it's that radical. It's removing the school police off of the campuses. And when people may hear that, that may sound a little bit too extreme. But if you go in any other country outside of America, which we're supposed to be the most civil and most, civilized, we have school police, armed school police, some with metal detectors. But you go outside the country, it's not even heard of. School shooting is not even heard of. So we gotta, I think we gotta remove that, because the school police. CCSD police will be able to build up a rap sheet on the student without the parent even being informed. And then so when that happens and it reaches to a certain level, then next thing you know, they're up in front of the juvenile justice courts. And so I think that we got to get rid of them off the campus and let the students not be harassed.
Okay, and how does removing the school police influence children to be fighting less and things like that?
It's just a step. It's a step in the right direction, because I know, for one, a police officer's presence is meant to intimidate, to be able to instill this type of fear or this sense of authority. And already, if I'm a child or if I'm a student going into school, that's not the type of mentality that I want to be met with every day, with this gun on his head, pepper spray, or you just slammed one of my friends on the face last week, and you an adult. And so I think that is just a step in the right direction, being able to create an environment on the school campus to actually want to engage and learn, instead of like putting it in like a battlefield, in a sense, with the system, the school district.
Thank you very much.
This woman right here had her hand up, but then you also, so if you want to make your way this way over here. Okay. But I'll start with you. What is your name?
Marie.
What's on your mind?
A little difficult to say right now, listening to everybody. I want to say marvel. This child, that is the thing that attracted me the most, was you said something about you would vote for the one that gifts everything away, that gifted, right, that did not charge, that would give it for free. And so I guess what my major concern is actually this Mother Earth and all the living things, because there's no charge. There's no charge. So what you said for me was brilliant. Helping people, right? Helping people, that's living. Helping each other. So I'm going to bring it back to going back local. How everyone said about voting local. How many people know, what's the Electoral College? What does that even mean to people every day? They don't know. I barely know. But this is what I mean. It's like if you don't know what the process is, that the process starts in the heart, it starts at the home. We are living things. The world is made up of living things, not boxes, not cubicles. And so it starts with gratitude. My concern is I really would like to hear a lot more about gratitude for all the living things, and that includes all of you. My first thought was, is everybody comfortable? I see a lot of fidgeting. How long have we been here? Does somebody need some water? But that's local. That's like going into your auntie's house. That's like being in the neighborhood and knowing that all of these mothers are your neighbors. Your neighbors are your mothers. They are your parents. And the first parent is this earth. That's my concern. I would like to hear more about that. Not about climate change, not about new things with power that create more work. Yes, solar creates more work, and it creates more mess. Instead of going from one system to another, start with gratitude, start at home. We could start with the heart in our locally. So yes, know your judges, know who is up, know whether or not they actually care. Your neighbor, you know if your neighbor cares about their home by looking at the exterior. So is that not the same for the people that are working for your Board of Education, that's working for your General Counsel? And those are going to be the people that help with the election of who you want. So I would really like to bring it back local to the heart and to remember that you are one of the living things. You're not an employee. You're not a thing. You are not depressed. You might have depression in your life. It might come on you and then float out like a cloud, right? And come back in. So just gratitude. Say thank you to all those living things in this Mother Earth and start from that, which starts locally.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle. Former teacher, taught for 8 years, left the classroom about 3 years ago. I really wanted to speak on a different perspective from, can you tell me your name again? Yadi said about police in the schools, and I sincerely wish that kids were being funneled into the juvenile justice system for aggressive behavior like fighting and, different violent behaviors. At this point, they're being funneled into the juvenile justice system for little or nothing. My little cousin, 13, just got a ticket for yanking a door. She had to go in front of a judge for yanking a door. So literally, these kids are not acting out emotionally, violently, and are still being punished very harshly, I would consider. I want to see a lot more actionable things in terms of education. These kids came back from the pandemic different, socially, emotionally. It was a lot. And one of the things that I saw was it was really hard for schools to really punish kids for certain behaviors because it was like, okay, it's a pandemic, things are going on at home, this, that, and the other thing is happening. And so they really weren't punishing for they really weren't punishing for anything. So even the high, aggressive, violent behaviors, they were kind of getting a slap on the hand in the beginning, and then it got so bad that they started to have to punish for little things. My same little cousin that I just referred to, she entered a new school. She was there for 4 weeks. 3 out of the 4 weeks she was there, she was suspended. And we're like, okay, what is she doing? And after teaching for 8 years, I'm like, okay, y'all gonna tell me she was being aggressive, she was being violent, she was cursing, she was doing all this. I mean, the stuff that she was getting suspended for is crazy. Like, I understand, like, being disrespectful or whatever the case may be, but some of the things that she was out of school for literally 3 weeks for, I can't even, imagine. So I say all that to say I feel like the discipline is really getting out of hand. They do not have people in these classrooms that can handle the behavior, that can really, that are really passionate about these kids, and it's starting to show. There's just so much going on. I can probably be up here all day. Next time I'm gonna have to just write down the issues and then go down the list. But yeah, it's rough for me to see, because a part of the reason why I stayed in the classroom for so long, even though I wanted to leave a lot sooner than I did, was because I felt like the kids needed me. And they really needed somebody that was skilled and that knew what they were doing, because I saw what was coming in, and that was, less skilled people. Classrooms are out of control, behavior was getting out of control, things like that. And what people don't understand is that when you do not have skilled people in classrooms, instruction is lost. So these kids are losing a lot of instruction time. There's a lot of things that are being done improperly in terms of education that are not helping these kids. At this point, these kids are getting 2 hours of math instruction, 2 hours of English instruction. And I'm sitting there looking at these kids like, y'all are in here for 2 hours, and they looking at me like, we got to look at you for 2 hours, and it's not helping. It is not increasing math scores. It's not increasing English scores. And what people don't understand is that if they're struggling with something, they do not need more time in it. They need a more intensive version of it. So they're cutting lunchtime. They're cutting art. They're cutting music classes just so these kids can get more English and math instruction in particular, because that's what the testing is for, and it's not working. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
All right, this young person has been waiting. One quick thing, because you have to go.
Yeah. So I just want to say one quick thing before I go. When I had talked about coming at this from the point of view of the living things in this Mother Earth, that's because when I listen to all of you and I hear and I understand that things happen because of color, because of choice. So literally, a lot of this comes from choice. Choice is not a bad thing, but it's being targeted. If you're black, if you're transgender, if you're. When we come at things from this Mother Earth and all the living things, we don't come at it from othering people. We come at it from family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, what is your name?
My name is Diego.
And what do you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about how I think me as a student and other students should be more educated about life, and how that it would be helpful if we could get jobs at a younger age, because it would be more helpful later on in life.
What kind of things would you like to be taught?
Like, maybe how tax works, and because that would be helpful, and other things like maybe how it'd be like the economy, and how the world would, like, more history about things that are going on.
How old are you?
I'm 11.
And when you think of your future, what do you think of? Do you think of getting a job right away, or going to college, or what do you even think about at this point?
I don't know yet. I still need some time to understand what there is out there to do.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have someone over here. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. All right, let's start with your name.
My name is Stephanie, and I just want to speak on what you were speaking on. So I took my two children, my 6th grader and my 7th grader, out of the middle school that they were in because my daughter was being suspended for not wearing this badge. And when I spoke with the principal about how they were handling the students at the school, to me it felt like the students were inmates. Okay, so when he says take the school police out of the school, I totally agree, because When I call the school to speak to the principal about what's going on with my daughter, why she's being suspended because she's not wearing a badge. She's in school to get an education. She's not a number. She's not a badge. So that made me feel some type of way because they're grooming them for jail. Okay, in my perspective, they're grooming these children for jail. They're not addressing them by their names. They're not referring to them as a student. What's your number? That's in jail. That's what they do to inmates. They don't ask you your name in jail. What is your number? So for her being suspended for things like that, what is the school system doing right now? They're not educating these children. So since my kids have been in homeschool, my daughter has absolutely no idea what a politician is. Okay? That saddens me because she's going to be here when I'm gone. And if she doesn't know what that is in the 7th grade, how is she going to know what that means in the 9th grade? They don't know. They're not teaching these kids nothing. They're teaching them how to be criminals. Because what's happening is when a child is wanting to be educated and you're punishing them for not wearing a badge, what makes that child want to come back and be educated by this person when they're being punished for the simplest thing in the world? Instead of pulling that child to the side and trying to make a resolution or even calling the parent. Half the time I wasn't even being called. My daughter's calling me, telling me, Mom, they're locking me up. Where are they locking you up? In school suspension. What is that all about? Why are these teachers and principals allowed to do these things to these children? So yes, I agree with you. They need to eliminate that school police, and they need to put more brown teachers in schools. My daughter only had white teachers that cannot relate to brown. None of these teachers could relate to anything that she had going on. And then the guidance counselor is the one that she's supposed to be able to go to, was the one harassing her. So yes, I agree with you. They need to make it more about the education and less about making these children feel like they're criminals and they're in some type of jail. I don't know any other way to put it. But thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing. Can I ask you another question about the coming election? Is there any issues besides this one that you just named that you're going to be that will influence your vote this presidential election?
I mean, at this point right now, I don't trust any of the candidates. None of them are in our best interest. Right now, what we need to focus on is what he said earlier, is the local. We need to focus on our state and what we can do here, because depending on the president is getting us nowhere. It doesn't matter if it's Trump, if it's Biden, they're not getting us anywhere. They're bringing us further down. They're bringing us so down that we're going to lose everything. Families are falling apart. Judicial systems are not working. Nothing is working for us because we're waiting on the wrong people. Who we need to wait on and hold accountable is us and our local people that are here right now that are not doing nothing. They're not doing nothing. All these homeless people, we're starting to look like Skid Row. And I'm not even a born Nevadian. Okay? I've been here for 6 years. And it saddens me. All the kids that are in the streets that have no help, that nobody is helping. Do you know how many homeless children I've helped since I've been here? My sister can tell you. I've taken in runaways. I put my life on the line to help these children because there's nobody helping them. Nobody. And they're the future. So if we're not helping them, how are we expecting them to build a future for them or for us? It's not going to happen until we do something here. Everybody's so concerned about the Strip. To hell with the Strip as far as I'm concerned. And I work there. I see it every day. All the young prostitutes, all the young kids that are down there committing crimes because they have nobody. Vegas is not, they're not focusing on what's really needed right now. It's all about the Strip. It's all about the tourists. But what about us? What about the locals that live here? They're not doing nothing for us, and it's not right. We need to do something.
All right, thank you for sharing.
What is your name?
My name is Robert Lacey. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. I just want to commend the youth for being here. That's very inspiring to know that there's youth that care and taking into the mind and heart the actions of our future. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the resounding issues, and it feels like we're all concerned about our youth. And I work with about 150 youth a month. I'm a youth advocate, educator in the aspect of recording arts and music. And my focus is to be able to bring this experience to kids so that they can learn how to express themselves, because we're seeing all the results of the confused turmoil of how their hearts and minds are, because these elaborate social constructs that are existing now, like when I was younger, there was milder forms, but now all the social media and all these different aspects of ways they can engage, it's been amplified. So I don't think any of us are truly equipped, but if we put our minds together, I think we can come up with better solutions. So my ultimate concern, I guess, would be social and emotional wellness for our youth and providing more services. As I've come in contact with all of these youth, I find a common theme, which is they're all kind of confused. They don't know where they're going. They don't have a sense of direction in life. And that leads them to the allure of all the things that they shouldn't be getting into. And it takes over their school social constructs, and it becomes the more popularized thing. So people are doing it, youth are doing it to fit in, to feel cool. They're not able to identify with themselves and accept themselves. And so providing more services for the youth that aren't going to put the parents into a tremendous amount of debt or things like this. As soon as a kid says, I don't want to live anymore, they're admitted to a local hospital, right? From that local hospital, then taken to a mental hospital, right, with other youth. They're there for a few days, about a week maybe, or until they feel the student or this young person can go be reassimilated back with their family and everything. And then the cycle just keeps continuing without any real strength of support. And it's really taxing on families to come up with the resources to find these resources for their kids. And being in Nevada, being in Las Vegas, I have experienced this in the system myself. There's very few places to go. And once you've exhausted those avenues that I just talked about, what else is there? So it's just a cycle that seems to never stop.
And when you talk about services, they don't have to be what you're talking about as far as going to a hospital.
I'm not saying there isn't any social services for young people with that need someone to talk to, a counselor, a therapist, or someone like that. But I'm saying the accessibility, it's such a long wait even just to see someone that could help your child, or the amount of accessibility, or even in schools. I talk to some of these kids on a daily basis, and I'm like, how was your day? And it seems like I'm the only one asking, And that's sad, because they're around people all day, and usually people, you're asked, how is your day? It was cool, and that's the extent of it. They don't have a safe place for them to release and talk about things, or someone to guide them so they can find themselves and be okay without doing a bunch of stuff that's going to harm themselves and others.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have a young person over here. Let's start with your name.
So my name is Israel, but you may call me Izzy. Is it cool if I hold the mic? Or okay, no, okay. So I feel like, let's see. So, it's towards the end. It's almost 8 p.m. And listening to every single one of you guys speak, I feel like an issue that I see with not you guys all, but as a society in general, is the mind complex and mentality. I feel like we all have this mentality that we need to, I guess you could say, idolize or think or believe that somebody in office is going to be our savior. And I feel like the truth, the divine truth of it all, is that we can only save ourselves. And that, with that being said, I feel like the issue that we see with the youth is lack of passion. Within my experience, within this journey, I feel like this educational system, or this whole nation itself, is grooming our youth to be workers, to be in labor, to be slaves in a way. And I feel like, you know, I ask a lot of my youth, or the youth that I know, what is your passion? And what is that drives you? What is that you can do for free and not have to be paid for? What is that brings you happiness, that peace? And I always receive blank faces. I always receive, you know, responses that relates to, I don't know, or I never thought about that, or like, you know, that's foreign to me, you know. And this is a great issue because I feel like when they grow up, when they become adults, they're going to be adults, men and women, who are not going to have no sort of drive within them. And I feel like if we're going to expect our next generation of leaders to really make the change, make the impact in our world, like the young king, I don't know where he's at, he's right over there. Very inspirational. Hearing him speak, he got that confidence, that inspiration that you get. Yeah, you, brother. Like, you know, like if you really were to, like, following that steps in your calling, bro, most definitely I will vote for you, you know. But, you know, in terms of voting me, I did not vote this year. You know, I feel like, you know, like I said, I'm my own savior. So I feel like we need to create our own systems, build our own wealth. The good brother and sister that just left earlier, they were talking about land, environmental issues that we see, how they stripped away our land, how, you know, the land that we're standing on is ours, but they're owning it. You know, we're talking about ownership now. So now we got to build our own wealth, our own foundations, our own systems, and buy back our own land. You know, when it comes to education, I feel like, you know, the educational system is scripted. It's programmed in a way to teach our youth, you know, what they want the youth to know. But the real education involves, you know, deep-rooted history about who we are, about this planet that we're on, the systems that took it, everything. I feel like the solution is homeschooling. I feel like if we can all as a community come together and create our own systems, our own organizations coming together and teaching our youth, homeschooling them, I feel like it's going to be definitely key because now we have control over education. But yeah, you know, I feel like the solution or key to really being our own savior is to create our own systems, build our own wealth, meaning that we have to educate ourselves with financial literacy, because that is not something that our educational system teaches us, is how to get rich, how to be wealthy, and how to set up that generational wealth for our legacy. And, yeah, you know, take back our power.
So are you voting this election?
Am I voting? No. No. Yes, ma'am. Do I vote? I plan to, you know, in the near future, but me personally, I have to get to know who I'm voting for. At the moment, there's some brothers in the room that I do know, and, you know, they're great people, you know, but as far as, you know, people who are going to be in office, who's going to have the power to make change and to have the word to say and to do, I feel like I do my own research, you know, because like I said, the educational system didn't teach me, so I got to teach myself.
All right. So there is a presidential election, but it's also local. It's also a local election happening at the same time. So you can still vote locally. You don't have to vote for the president. You can leave that blank, but you can still vote for your local leaders in the election. Sure. Thank you. And I saw you raise your hand. Okay, no, he didn't.
This young person's been waiting, so let's talk to him. What would you like to talk about?
How to stop smoking. No offense for whoever smokes here. One, as you know, smoking can kill you. Two, as this person said, kids really shouldn't get a choice right away in what they're going to do in life. I think they should wait a while until they actually know what they're actually going to do. So, yeah, and yeah.
How old are you?
11.
Do kids at your school smoke?
What?
Is smoking a big issue among kids your age?
Not as I know of.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
All right, we have our future health official over here. All right.
My name's Robert. Hey, John, it's good to see you. I want to circle back around to the initial question, the issues that drive us. There are a lot of issues, education, environment, infrastructure, but what worries me, I do hear the word fear a lot being mentioned. And talking about democracy, I understand why the word fear is being used a lot. But what it seems to me is when we circle back around as the most important issue, it does seem like democracy is on the ballot, as they say, this time. And what your initial question was, what was the number one issue? I think the number one issue should be an old-fashioned issue, which is like integrity, honor. Can you trust the person you're voting for? Screw the party. Just can you trust the person that you're voting for? And also in your question, you asked, what do we want to see more from the press? We want to see more of the judicial review. We want to see more of the unbiased journalism that gives us some facts that we can use. I feel like part of the problem that we're facing today is the normalization of bad behavior. Like, why does the press refer to former President Trump? Why is it not former President Trump, who is currently facing 31 indictments and 75 possible convictions, if you're going to go to that level? You know what I'm saying? So it seems to me that the press is complicit in that respect, where they normalize this bad behavior and don't give you all the facts. And they say things like, President Trump made this comment, but they leave out the fact that it completely contradicts the comment he made 20 minutes earlier, right? Because maybe that's not important to you in their mind. So I think part of that is, and then I will leave it at this, the last thing that worries me is I heard a couple people say they get their news from everywhere. And that does, speaking of fear, that makes me fearful, because I think a lot of people do get their news from everywhere. And instead of knowing the difference between PBS and the Nevada Independent and the other outlets that are not really worth reading. And that is a problem. I think I'm not saying that you need to pick your outlet and stick with it. I'm saying you need to know what outlets are credible, which ones actually do their research, and which ones are there to get clicks, and which ones are there to influence you. And I think that is the number. And then I'll leave it at this. The number one issue should be daylight savings time. We need to end the tyranny. No, the number two issue should be we should have a legislature that meets every year. And that should be the number one thing. So anyways, thank you for putting this together and for having us all together.
All right, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for this evening. Thank you so much for this engaging conversation, and thank you to CSN West Charleston's campus staff for allowing us to use this ballroom tonight.
Don't forget the presidential election as well as the local elections are taking place Tuesday, November 5th. You can vote early as well, and it's a good time to register to vote.
And remember, you don't need to wait until the election to make your voice heard. Public comment is welcome at school board meetings, city council meetings, Clark County Commission meetings, and it's also a good time for you to get to know the local electeds who represent you and find out how you can get in contact with them.
And then if you want to see coverage that comes out of tonight's event, make sure that you're following us, vegaspbs.org and the nevadaindependent.com.
And we hope you continue to engage in public forums like this one in your community. Getting together to express your concerns and share your thoughts is an act of democracy.
Yes. Have a good night, everyone.